Welcome, my friends. Here we go. Episode 9 from the M Factor Studios in downtown Jackson, Michigan. This is A to G. I'm Adam Ebel. Thanks for joining us live on Facebook on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday evening. We got a recap of an amazing weekend in college basketball. Michigan embarrasses themselves against Texas Tech. But does that necessarily mean that their season was a failure? Also, is the single elimination tourney the best way to crown a champ? And we discuss the state of American baseball. With me, as always, tonight is Mr. Garrett Collier. G, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I had a little pulled wisdom tooth yesterday morning, so I'm a little sore, but no big deal. We'll get through this. We got some great topics tonight, so Thanks everyone for joining live chat during the show. We love to see the interaction and stuff. Again, we really appreciate everyone joining in and tuning in and stuff like that. So let's get at it. It all was just basically a disaster last Thursday. Yep. Michigan embarrassed by Texas Tech, 63-44. And they scored 16 points in the first half, a Michigan all-time low in a tourney for a half. Couldn't score, no motion, no leadership, turnovers all over the place, couldn't shoot. And actually, 9 minutes in, the score is actually tied 6-6. Yeah. So it's not like Texas Tech was playing that great anyway, right?
Right. I mean, Texas Tech definitely did not get off to a good start offensively either. It looked like the game we expected it to be. Two of the best defensive teams in the country were going to go at it, and it was going to be a race to 50 kind of game. And then they just couldn't miss in the early second half, and Michigan still couldn't score, and it got worse and worse as it went on.
Yeah, Texas Tech just went on a huge run, or kind of just a run and never looked back, basically at the end of the first half and then the second half. Iggy was really the only bright spot for Michigan. He had a team-high 17, but again, he scored the majority of those points when the game was over. Real quick, I got a couple of M factors for you. Yeah, Simpson with just multiple first-half turnovers. Yep. It was kind of embarrassing. He looked flat. Just did not look like the Simpson that we've grown accustomed to all season long. And another one of 18 from the three-point from beyond the arc. And actually the last one was in the final minutes by Baird with 22 seconds left. Yeah. The only one made that kind of rimmed in and stuff like that. And the third one was, let's give credit where credit is due, and that's to Texas Tech and their defense.
Yeah,
they really showed up.
They looked great. They absolutely did. They were everything as advertised. We said, throughout the year they were in I think once or twice I had them as a fringe 1 seed. I think they were underseeded as a 3 and absolutely played like it. Culver looks like every bit of the NBA prospect he's been made out to be.
He really does, yeah.
Moretti shot the ball well.
We got killed by another Italian, right?
Yeah, right. No, they looked great, and they played their butts off and absolutely are deserving to be in the Final Four now.
Yeah, and what can you say about the squad? Michigan just didn't show up.
Right.
But as we kind of jump into the next topic here, again, thanks for joining us, folks, on A to G. I'm Adam Amble with Garrett Collier. We are just discussing the Michigan game of last Thursday, and we're going to kind of hop into, with the embarrassment to end the season, is it really, is a season as a whole, we got a 30-win season after losing 3 key players last year. Expectations, by many were second. We were second in the preseason in the Big Ten, behind MSU. We had big wins against Villanova, UNC, and Purdue early on. We saw a big surprise in the freshman Iggy, stepping up and stuff like that. Big Ten tourney runners up, reaching for the third straight year in a row. What are your thoughts on that, G? On just exactly, would you consider this season? I know you posted it on Twitter and stuff like that, but would you really consider this season a failure or a success?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's about what we expected. I mean, I'm not going to look back on this team super fondly, I don't think, but I'm also not going to look back and think that this is a team that was disappointing in any way. I think it's about what we expected preseason. If you look at where they were previewed, we played for the Big Ten title on the last day of the season, made it to another Big Ten tournament championship like you touched on. I think it was silly for us to allow that start to totally blow our expectations out of proportion. 17-0 is great, but
single season record, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the Big Ten is such a gauntlet, and I think it beat us up a little bit, and we performed in the tournament how I would have expected us to preseason. Yeah. I think we forget that we lost two NBA guys and one guy who's playing overseas right now. off of a team that made it to the finals last year. I think Muhammad Ali's leadership is something that we also overlooked when.
And he was a go-to guy. He was a go-to guy as well.
He was one of those guys down the stretch. You felt like he could get you a bucket. You felt like Wagner could get you a bucket. Robinson hit plenty of timely threes, and we didn't have that this year. None of those guys on this year's team seemed to me to have that I'll get you a bucket when you need it.
And I really think having those guys too also took a little bit of a load off Xavier Simpson, off Z and stuff like that.
Really, and Charles as well.
To really help those guys out again with Iggy stepping up, especially towards in the tournament and stuff like that, not taking those stupid shots, trying to force stuff and whatnot. Of course, I didn't really mind against Texas Tech since he seemed to be the only one that wanted to play. But, we go in second seed in the big dance, even after losing some nasty games against Penn State. Iowa was kind of a bad game. 3 losses to MSU, kind of on the negative side. But I totally agree with you, G. I think this was definitely a very successful season in terms of the expectations. I'm 100% with you on do we – is this going to go down as a team in the history books and stuff like that just because of the way they started? I would definitely say no. Because they did have their negatives, right? The 3 losses to MSU, not advancing past the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the big things that stood out for me this year were the cold streaks that they would go on almost every game, inevitably. Luckily, the ones that they won, they were ahead by enough to not really have it hurt them. And then their inability to deal with adversity down the stretch. Really, that's what really sticks out to me this year. But moving on to the future. What do you think? You think Iggy stays or does he go?
I think he should. I think it'd be a mistake for him to leave right now simply because there were 5, 6, 7, 8 game stretches this year where he absolutely disappeared. He couldn't defend. He couldn't score. He took dumb shots. He made dumb turnovers. Was in Beeline's in Beeline's doghouse at times, and just I don't think he's NBA ready just yet. I think it would be super beneficial to his draft stock to come back another year. I think he seems to enjoy the college atmosphere and experience as much as anybody else does, and I think it would be great for him if he were to come back. I think everyone should come back. I'm trying to be as not biased as possible. But none of them looked tournament ready. None of them looked NBA ready.
Well, a lot of them didn't look
none of them looked tournament ready.
Either,
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, none of them look like NBA guys right now. And if you look at the mock drafts that are coming out, none of them are in the top 40 or top 50. So
yeah, not even close, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me why even Charles would leave. If you think you're going to be a fringe NBA guy or a fringe draft guy, why would you not come back and try to improve that stock next season?
Yeah, exactly. And we got a nice comment. Josh Moore, die as a team from the shooting. I totally agree. Great team with no pure scorer. That's spot on. That's spot on, JMO. Another thing we have to ask ourselves for next season, think about this. Simpson obviously is coming back.
Yeah.
He'll be a 4-year guy, obviously.
Right.
With another summer under his belt. Matthews, if he does go, we still got Livers to replace him off the bench.
Well,
and I really think that if Matthews does go, which he will, I assume he will, because he was considering it last year, right? I really think if he goes, then Livers, and we played really well with Livers actually in the starting five,
good.
Right?
And Jalen Wilson's coming in as well, and he's one of the best recruits we've had in recent memory, and he plays the same position. So, yeah, I think we're reloading well. And like you touched on with Xavier, I also think it'll help Teskey, DeJulius, Brandon Johns, Castleton. They've all got another year development, you know what I mean, before next season. So lots of reasons to be optimistic. Definitely looking towards the future. I don't expect next year to be a letdown at all. I expect, if not the same, better.
Yeah, and exactly. Basically, the whole team should be back, just like you alluded to earlier. I feel Iggy should definitely stay. Of course, we always have that wishful thinking, right? Of no, not a chance. These guys go pro. It's actually one of my similar to one of my call the 3 questions later on, which we'll have later on, folks. So stay tuned for that. And so basically, the whole team should be back. Yep. Wisconsin will lose Hap, luckily. Purdue possibly loses Edwards.
I think he will.
You think he goes?
I think he made himself quite a bit of money last weekend.
Okay, yeah, right. We'll get to that too here in a bit, folks. And then MSU obviously loses McQuaid. What do you think about Cassius? Does he roll out?
I think he'll head back. I really do. I think he's a little small for the NBA. I think if he can come back and play the same role he's playing this year, which I don't see anyone taking his spot as the go-to guy for State. Maybe Aaron Henry. I don't know the way he's playing right now, but I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back, and I think he'll play well again, and I think it'll only improve his draft stock.
Yep.
It's going to be tough to go out this year, and be a lottery pick. So I think he'll look to next season for that.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because there are a lot of great players coming out this year.
Yeah, his position as well.
Probably at least both of the Duke freshmen, if not four of them, right?
Right.
That all leave. Not saying that they'll all get drafted above. Our best draft option is Iggy, but
Right.
Cassius, who knows? I haven't seen any mock drafts of him. Have you seen
Being
any
a
of
lottery
him being
pick or
in a
anything like
lottery
that?
or
No,
anything like
never.
that? So,
not in any of them yet.
so he'll be back, and unfortunately, it's unfortunately for us because Cassius is playing out of his mind. We'll get into that here in a little bit. And in my opinion, after the finish this year for Michigan basketball and football, both of them will be playing with a chip on their shoulder next year.
Absolutely.
I'm really, this is kind of a blessing in disguise. They both ended the season. Last year, we didn't really have anything to prove after the basketball season. You know what I mean?
True. That's very true.
We finished well above expectations last
yep.
year. We just didn't shoot well again in that championship game. And, we got the football team just absolutely stunk it up the last two games against Ohio State
Right.
and
And then
Florida.
the bowl game.
So we really just did not end well. And I honestly think that we have a good shot of playing again, playing that underdog role again, which I wish we could have this year. But despite our amazing start, it was really tough for them to really kind of hold on to that role like Michigan State is. I think Michigan State is kind of playing that underdog role, disrespected a lot for getting, that number 2 seed. And what do you think about that, G? Because that's kind of yeah, I mean, what do you think about that, buddy?
I just think that down the stretch this year, we were favored in pretty much every game we played. I mean, even once we lost to State the first time, I think with their injuries, we were expected to win. And I mean, I don't know how much I play into the whole chip on your shoulder thing. I think everybody comes out with motivation, especially, the way social media works now.
I would agree with that.
They get criticized every day on ESPN and on Fox and and there's so many different news outlets and social media outlets that I think everybody's got something to prove and something to play for, and unfortunately, I think it's more so this year we just lacked the scoring, and I think next year, again, another year for all these guys, somebody will step up and emerge as a go-to scorer. I hope anyway.
Yeah, and we can only hope, right?
Right.
So again, we'd like to switch to this first. This is A to G. Thanks for joining us, folks. Adam Amble with Garrett Collier, and let's not forget we're talking about Michigan's ending the season, but there's still a tourney going on, folks, and goodness, what an amazing weekend of basketball it was. Purdue goes into OT in both Thursday night and Saturday night before eventually losing to Virginia in a great game. Edwards, in my opinion, Edwards and Zion might be the MVPs of the tournament, even though they didn't make it's hard to give an MVP to a guy that obviously didn't make it to the finals. Cassius is right up there, of course. But Virginia advances to the Final Four for the first time since the early 80s.
Yeah, good for them.
Auburn gets the win over Kentucky in a great back-and-forth game on Sunday. And Auburn in his first Final Four in school history. What do you think of those? Well, it's basically 3 games, G.
Man, I said that these were the best group of Elite Eight games I've ever watched. I watched all 4, and they were fantastic games, man. I mean, the Kentucky-Auburn game is obviously an SEC rivalry. They know each other well, went down to the wire. Great game. Gonzaga, Texas Tech played out just like we kind of thought it would. Gonzaga had their spells where they looked like they wanted to push and run, and then Texas Tech would just pump the brakes and slow the game right back down.
Just every game fantastic.
Anyone who's listened to this podcast has heard me crap on Carson Edwards.
Very true, folks.
He made me be quiet this week, man. I mean, I still think he's a volume.
Tape.
I still think he's a volume scorer. I don't think he's ever going to be like your go-to scorer. I think he's got to get 25 shots to get his butt. I mean, if you're going to make 18 out of 25 and you're going to make 10 3-pointers again, I mean, the kid made himself some money this weekend, and I'm not going to.
And let's face it, it's not like he changed his game. He still would come
just
down, pull it,
and
happened to be making them,
and,
right?
I mean, good for him, man. He looked great. I do feel for Purdue a little bit that they missed out on a Final Four. But then the State Duke game might have been the game of the weekend. And I think that State has got to be the favorite to win it now. Got momentum on their side. Yeah. Cassius, like you said, I think Cassius is probably your tournament MVP, depending on obviously how he looks down these next 2 games. But yeah, State's got to be the odds-on favorite to win at this point with the way they played this weekend. But honestly, the best Elite Eight I've ever watched.
Yeah, and of
that
course,
I can remember.
And like G was just saying, Texas Tech beat the number 1 seed Gonzaga, and of course we'll get into a little bit of the game of the weekend, which I admit it was a great game to watch. Even as folks, we are diehard Michigan fans, as you know, on this show. But let's give credit where credit is due, and that is MSU coming out to play. Duke coming out to play, really. I'm sorry. It's not like either team really was lacking in what was going on. I would say, and MSU gets the win 68-67 over the number 1 overall seed. And honestly, in my opinion, this is why I think the NCAA seeded them like this. Like you just said, G, that was the best Elite Eight of all. It's being touted as people even older than us, analysts and experts.
Just the quality of the games.
We're by far from experts, and I just think that the Elite Eight games were they were up and down, they were competitive, and they ended fantastically.
Yeah.
And I go as far as even saying, like the Saturday games, fantastic. Sunday games, fantastic. And then you got this Duke MSU game, which could have easily been a national championship game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
easily could have been one.
For sure.
Maybe it should have been. But again, this is why I think the NCAA did that. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago when MSU did get, honestly, folks, they did get the shaft on being in Duke's region, the number 1 overall.
It was good, made for
the
good
number 1
basketball,
seed
made
overall.
for good TV for sure.
That's exactly what they were doing. It's like I mentioned, it's the NCAA's wedding. They get to decide where people sit, right? Because they hand out the cash, they pay for all of that stuff. So you don't need those ratings in the Final Four. You already get them in the Final Four. You're already going to get them in the championship game.
Right.
These great games in the Elite Eights and the Sweet 16s and stuff, you just bumped up the ratings for all of those. The ratings were honestly through the roof. And like you mentioned, G, I couldn't agree more. I think it's the best Elite Eight, the Elite Eight games that I've ever watched, and I've been watching college basketball since 1990. You know what I mean?
Sure.
McQuaid and Winston both played amazing games, and then your boy Goins, you called that like our very first episode, how he can shoot that three, and sure enough, what does he do? Drop the game winner,
man.
basically.
Play the game for sure.
And you got Zion and Barrett, of course, leading Duke, but Barrett missed that crucial free throw at the end. And MSU will go on to play Texas Tech, Virginia versus Auburn next Saturday. G, what do you got for those?
I got it's super lame. I'm picking chalk in the first two. I got State probably handily over Texas Tech and Virginia. I think they're too good defensively. I mean, Auburn is playing well. They're shooting the ball well, but that's literally what Virginia tries to take away from you. I think they're gonna struggle to score points. I also think that State will continue to play the way they've been playing, and that hopefully, now at this point, I definitely hope that they win the whole thing. I really do.
Isn't that funny, folks? I'm right there with you, G. And it's funny that you mentioned that because actually I was talking to your dad Friday night and I said, you know what? I don't mind this MSU team. Most of the time, even for them beating us 3 times this year in.
There's no one we hate.
Exactly. There's no real player. I mean, I could go with McQuaid, maybe.
Oh, really?
Just because I think he's goofy, but I'll tell you what, that dunk that he had,
dude,
with authority, goofy.
I saw a couple tweets
move.
that were like, who would have thought that the dunk of the tournament was going to be Matt McQuaid against Duke rather than Zion, RJ,
rather than Zion,
one of those guys. Yeah,
sure. I never would have called the goofy white boy, right? McQuaid getting up there, but good for him.
Shooter. Yeah.
Good for him. He killed us, obviously, in that last game, the Big Ten championship game. So I guess, what do you got? You got MSU and
I got MSU winning the whole thing. Yeah, like I said before, I think they're riding high off of the momentum that they've had going, and I think they're going to be really tough to beat. They're scoring the ball well. Cassius is playing as well as he ever has, and odds on at this point, favorite's got to be Spartans.
And I'm gonna go with you on that one too, G. I really
sure.
do, and I really am kind of rooting for them.
Definitely.
Again, destroy this recording and stuff like that at the end of the season and stuff like that. Because to be honest with you, I really don't know who I was really rooting for in the Duke Michigan State game. But like I mentioned, I was telling you that
I was rooting for State for sure.
I was like, man, well, I had Duke in my brackets and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but at the same time, Duke was the favorite and stuff like that. We all like the underdogs and whatnot. So I think it'll be MSU Virginia probably playing in the finals. I was wrong. about Virginia. I thought they were overrated all year, and here they are in the big dance.
They're such a funny team. Like I said before, they're set up to win a bunch of regular season games, and then it's a crapshoot in the tournament with them. They might get beat by a 16 seed. They might roll to the Final Four. They're just because the style that they play, it's so tough to judge. How they'll do.
So, and speaking of that, like Virginia playing well pretty much all season, and Michigan State playing. Well, I guess they had their stretch of terrible play as well.
They did.
And kind of we'll switch to this. Brings us to our next discussion. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Adam Amble. That's Garrett Collier. G. This is A to G on a beautiful Wednesday night. Brings us to our next discussion. So these teams play. These teams play what 5 to 6 months in a season, right? Only to have to play a single elimination tourney at the end of the season I'll get to you in a second, G. But I guess the question is that the best way to do it? First and foremost, everyone, I want to make sure that the tourney is amazing. Yeah. I am not against the tournament whatsoever, but there are arguments to say you're crowning a NCAA champion based on a single elimination tournament at the end of the season. And of course it's at the end of the season for every sport, you know what I mean? But you play all the season long, only to lose one game and have the season end for you. There's a lot of questions out there, G. First, let me get your pros and cons, and obviously I would assume you agree that this is one of the greatest times.
Yeah, for sure.
This is one of the greatest things in
When
sports,
you
right?
sent me like our agenda for what we're going to talk about today, I said, the quick answer is no. Of course. Is it the best way to crown a champ? No, of course not. You're not going to always get the best team out on top. Best of 7 series like they do in baseball and basketball are the best way to do that. However, if you're looking to make the best tournament possible and the most entertaining tournament possible, this absolutely is the best way to do it. In my opinion, single elimination is 10 times more exciting. Everything comes down to 40 minutes of basketball.
Yeah.
And also, would we have Butler and VCU and George Mason and that Kemba Walker UConn team in best of 7 series? No, they'd have been beat in 7 games every time.
Right.
But for 40 minutes on that night, they were the better team. Would we have Loyola last year? No.
Exactly.
And so to me, those runs and those really, really exciting times that come in late March and early April with these Cinderella story teams, the only way to make that possible is with a single elimination tournament. Best of 7s don't give you that because George Mason might have beat UConn once, but then UConn would have won 4 in a row and they'd have beat him in the first round. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's kind of the argument actually, G, is do we take it down to like an Elite 8 and play a best of 3 series at the Elite 8 level? No. The only reason I would argue for that is because you're right, you kind of dwindle the teams down to probably the best. You do have those diamonds in the rough, like you just mentioned, the Butlers, the Loyola Marymount's, or the Loyolas, and really, it's this year in particular. You really did have the best teams basically in the Elite 8, if not the Sweet 16 and stuff like that. Yes, it prolongs the season, but the winner is. Wouldn't you consider the winner of the NCAA tournament just the winner of the NCAA tournament? You know what I mean? Is that really a attribute to how well they played all season, because in my mind, the NCAA tournament is no different than the actual conference tournament. So we have a regular season champion in the Big Ten tournament, right? Or in most major conferences, in all conferences, really. You have a regular season champion, you have a tournament champion. Then all of a sudden you have an NCAA champion, which is for the whole year, but it's still no different than the conference championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's also remembered. That team is remembered as the national champion for the year. Like, you don't look back, I don't know, last year at Villanova. Well, I guess they were the best team in the regular season too, so that's not a good example. So the year that Villanova beat North Carolina in the final, nobody says, well, North Carolina was the best team during the season. And no, the only thing people care about or remember is the tournament. And I don't know, I kind of like it that way. Like I said, if you want the best team to win every year, come up with a best of 3, best of 5, best of 7, some sort of process like that. That's fine.
G.
However, if you want the most exciting tournament and you want it to be largely accepted and watched, and if you want brackets to still be a thing, you've got to leave it the way it is now.
You got those two options, right? You want the most exciting, or do you want the best team to win every year?
Exactly.
And it kind of goes on to, because any other sport, you think, football? Football's really the only other single elimination. Baseball, hockey, basketball, and the pros, obviously. Even soccer, World Cup, you have round robin.
Yep.
It's easy in football to kind of divide those into quarters, which are games, right? It can be set a quarter as a game. You can have a bad quarter, but it's very rare that a football team just literally has an overall bad game if they
Rams
are
in the Super Bowl.
If they are if they are the better team, you know what I
Right.
mean? Because I think the Rams and Patriots were equally matched,
Fair
and
enough.
they both
Fair
played
enough.
very well, and they both had like one. Now I think Kansas City is better than the Patriots in my mind, but Kansas City had 3 bad quarters and they had 1 great quarter. You know what I mean? It's hard for someone to play a whole bad game. Now I guarantee you play a series of 3, Kansas City wins what? 2 out of 3. You know what I mean? It's
Tom
all
Brady, man. Tom
speculation.
Brady.
All speculation, right?
For sure.
But at the same time, it's easy. It's very easy to have one bad basketball game. Hence Michigan. Hence a lot of other squads that had one bad game. If you're off a bad game, typically you're off for the whole game and not just a half. You know what I mean? It's very hard to make actual adjustments because at the end of the day, I don't care how athletic you are. I don't care what your seed is. If you're not shooting well, you'll lose that game.
For sure.
It's a game of basketball. You'll lose that game. So
Fair enough.
hence why you never have all number 1 seeds in the Final Four, right?
One time, right?
Those are well, not in my lifetime, let's just say.
Oh, really? I thought it happened in like 06.
Oh, did it?
I think.
All right,
I'll look it up.
All right. Yeah, let me know, G, because those are supposed to be the best teams of the season, right?
Yeah.
In the season, and you got to count their conference tournaments as well. So I just think, and I'm right there too. I'm right there with you, G. There's no way I would trade the NCAA tournament the way it's formatted right now.
I think it's great.
Not a chance. But just bringing up some of those discussion points, right? So, again, folks, thanks for joining us. A to G. I'm Adam Ambold. That's Garrett Collier.
Sure.
We will move on to this, and this will be a great topic. G, I'm going to let you take this one, and this is just because this one of your buddies actually had this on. What was it? Was it his Twitter or Facebook?
No, it was a Facebook post. Yeah, it was a Facebook post.
Okay, and this is baseball. Is baseball a dying sport? And if so, what do we do to bring it back? And or
essentially,
what's the problem?
Yeah. So what he was getting at, I think, I don't. If I misquote him, I'm paraphrasing. If I mistake what he was getting at, I apologize. But basically, he was saying baseball used to be a family thing. You could go to the ballpark for pretty cheap and enjoy a game with the whole family, and that it's America's pastime. It's our sport. However, now they're willing to jack up ticket prices, concession prices. You have to pay to park outrageously. If you want to park near the stadium, it's super expensive. And now they're looking at rules in order to make the game more enjoyable for people in younger generations that are possibly compromising the integrity of the game, such as pitch counts and I'm sorry, not pitch counts, a pitch
timer,
clock, rather.
basically.
Things of that nature. Limiting pickoff throws, whatever you want to, whatever ideas have been thrown out. So his question was basically, is this a problem? And if so, is there a solution to it that's quick and easy? And I don't think there is a quick and easy one. I think
definitely not quick and easy. And baseball has never been a quick and easy fix, right?
Exactly. I think it's simply just it's a slower sport than anything else, and there's more downtime than just about anything else because the action is milliseconds at a time in pitching, and if it's a pitch that no one swings at, it takes that long, and now we've got 45 seconds of downtime before the next one.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good point, too, not to cut you off there, G, but the ratio of action to downtime is by far, I don't even think it's comparable, like by
maybe to
exponentially.
Football. Maybe to football is the only argument
Yeah,
people
at least
have.
you have a couple seconds worth
But
of,
even that, at least it's 4, 5, 6, 7, even 10, 15 seconds of play.
Yes, exactly. And even at that point, even sometimes when it is idle time on the field, you're still watching that clock, and it's still action.
And there's
for
pre-snap stuff,
the
adjustments,
spectator.
offense and defense.
Yes.
Exactly. So baseball does have that fighting against it as far as the younger generation tends to be intrigued by the faster-paced action, right? Basketball is really big with teenagers for the most part right now because it's faster. So in my opinion, I don't see it as really a problem. I think if baseball was going to die, it would have died by now. I think
I don't think it'll ever die.
Look at the contracts that are being signed right now. Bryce Harper, Manny Machado will all go out and get major, crazy money.
Mike Trout.
Even you can, Mike Trout, of course. You can even look back to Miguel Cabrera and Justin Verlander, those guys the Tigers were signing for crazy contracts.
Prince Fielder.
And the only way that will ever stop, the contracts will ever stop expanding is with a salary cap, right?
Yep.
And I don't think baseball will ever impose a salary cap.
Cut the luxury tax, right?
I think that MLB enjoys not having one, though. I think that they enjoy being basically at the discretion of the owners. Hey, if we want to pay 10 guys $300 million and go for it, they're absolutely entitled to do so if they want to risk the investment, right? And I think that they kind of like that they're different than basketball and football because clearly
I agree.
in basketball and football, the salary cap was imposed to increase parity, right?
Yep.
So that all 30 teams or 32 in the NFL have a fair shake to win the title. I just don't. It doesn't work. Clearly, look at the Cavaliers and the Warriors this year in the NBA. The Cavaliers lose one player and they're terrible. The Warriors keep their stars intact and they've ran the league for the last half a decade. So, A, it doesn't promote parity in my opinion, and B, I think it's something that's unique about baseball and makes baseball more interesting is that they don't have a salary cap. So,
and I really think that obviously it doesn't work even in baseball to try to even so it's the opposite, right? The NBA, NHL certainly they try to create that parity by putting that salary cap on there. Well, guess what? Without a salary cap and these guys paying these big namers, these teams are not going to the World Series.
Right.
You know what
There's
I mean?
almost as much, if not more, parity in baseball.
Right. You got teams that have young no-namers basically. Look at the Cubs. The Astros had some great players last year, but the Red Sox had a lot of younger players last year. Astros the year before that. The Cubs the year before that.
I think baseball. I think you're absolutely right. I think baseball has always been a sport based on development. Developing the farm system, and that's something that's missing in other sports that I think is super intriguing. Once you dive a little bit further into baseball, I don't think there's really a problem with it. I think if you look at the Cardinals, they've sold out some odd 100 number of home games in a row. And if you look at Dodger Stadium, it's always full. If you look at the Yankee Stadium, it's always full.
Yes.
I think the problem
Fenway's always
these
full,
teams that suck charge stupid amounts for you. It's $10 for a beer and $8 for a hot dog, and it's $40 to park in the stadium parking lot. And people are like, if I'm a Tigers fan right now, I'll go to a Lugnuts game.
Yeah.
I'll go to a Toledo Mud Hens game,
and it's more competitive too. Even though the Tigers aren't doing bad,
and
folks.
Are they 2-2? Well, yeah, they're 4-3, man. They just won.
4-3, yeah. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Winning record as they come back to Detroit. But
so, yeah, and I would agree with that, G. And a couple notes that I had down was attendance is down for live games, except for like opening day and the playoffs, obviously.
Yep.
But one of my big problems with the sport is there's no big stories right now in baseball. No like huge. All there are the stories are the huge contracts. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That is it. The season is way too long. The regular season is not a game is not critical. Yeah. You got guys resting and stuff like that. I do like how there's only 4 teams that do make the playoffs per league, so 8 teams.
5 now with the wild card.
Oh yeah, if you count. I
know what you mean. Yeah, it's much more difficult. Whereas the NBA, more than half of the teams make the playoffs.
That's what I always been against half the league making the playoffs because it does also kind of contradicts each other of having way too many games. So the regular season isn't that critical and. When half the teams make the playoffs anyway, again, are those regular season games that critical? Right. The games are way too long, which you alluded to. Is cost an issue and players being paid too much? Again, it's not so much the players being paid too much that really drives up the ticket sales, right?
Right.
You need to get butts in the seats because the big players bring the big ads.
Right.
You got to put people in the stands, and that's why these players are getting paid. They're not trying to better their team. The Padres aren't going to
be competitive.
They're not going to be competitive.
Right.
What did they do? They just added $20 million more to their stadium because people want to go watch Manny Machado play ball. So they don't make their money on attendance. They make their money on ads and obviously advertising and stuff like that.
Well, and the concessions as well. That is part of it.
Very
that's
true.
Why those prices are so high is because you can't go sit at a 5-hour baseball game and not eat something.
No kidding.
You know what I mean? You have to get something.
And who doesn't want to grab a beer and stuff
exactly.
like that?
A beer and a hot dog at a baseball game in the summer is the best. You know what I mean? I love going to the ballpark, and I think that is another draw that baseball has that other sports don't, is it's way better live, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
Going to the ballpark in the summer is way better than sitting at home watching it on your TV.
Yeah,
whereas basketball, you almost have a better seat watching it on TV. Football, you probably have a better seat watching it.
And you hang out with all your friends and stuff like that. At baseball games, you want to go chill.
You want to go to the park.
You want to go hang out. Right. Yeah, it's outdoors. It's normally nice out because it's always in the summer.
Right.
I totally understand that. Another thing I feel is, the older generations just aren't able to go to the games anymore. You got nothing. This isn't a millennial thing, but I'm just saying, in the new social media era, we're coming to you live right now, folks.
Right.
Do you really need to come to our studio in front of a live studio audience?
We don't have people sitting in front.
Exactly.
We just do it on the internet.
We don't need to do that anymore, and especially with the news cycle being so fast as it is, you can watch all these games on your phone, folks. You don't have to. But like G alluded to, it's really about going to the ballpark, right? It's really about going to the ballpark, and if they keep driving ticket prices up, Heck, you're spot on. I would much rather go to a Lugnuts game right now. You know, they got Thirsty Thursdays. They head up there. This is not a plug for the Lugnuts because I don't care much for the Lugnuts.
Right.
But, you know, you think about it. You can go up. Thirsty Thursdays, what? $1 hot dog, $1 beers, right? And you get to watch great baseball. It's an awesome stadium. Cooley Law Field or something like that. Yep. Awesome stadium. How cool is that place? And it's just beautiful. They do a good job with it. And I guess, you know, with all of that said, how do they come back? Now, I have two opinions. One is shorten the season, but you really don't want to do that again because we just talked about how Major League Baseball, it seems to take
all
them
about history
decades to change our rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not a chance
But
that
I
they'll
also
lower
think
it from
that's
162.
the one thing that's nice about baseball is that
Agreed. The tradition and stuff like that.
It's one of the only sports that you really, across different eras, you can compare stats because the game is virtually the same as it was.
I think they do that on purpose.
It was invented. Whereas basketball, the game is entirely different now than it was.
Yes.
Football, the game is way different now than it was when it was invented. So I don't want to shorten the season either. I don't think that would work because all your baseball historians are going to hate that idea because now, sure, Barry Bonds and Hank Aaron hit more home runs. They played more games.
So as a younger guy, would you personally be against shortening the season?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure because, you know, like you said, a lot of the old statisticians and stuff. And
but
you know,
on the flip side of that coin, I'm not going to watch 162 games.
Right.
So
and a lot of I know my mother watches a lot of Tigers games. At least she did until I don't know if she does anymore because they're not the greatest team, but still it's baseball, you know, it's tradition, tradition for a lot of people. Heck, our grandparents used to sit around the radio and listen to the games and stuff like that. Every game. Yep. It was tradition, you know, because you know they're always going to be on at 7:00 at night.
Right.
My other thing is, what's your take on this? Allowing the players to use PEDs. Allowing it be legal.
I've always said in all sports, just let them do it. It's so stupid that we're trying to prevent it because there's people cheating in every sport. The only way to ever make it fair is just say, hey, if you want to do it, do it. They never would, but I don't know. I think that will always be a black eye for baseball is that steroid era with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro.
Which single-handedly brought baseball back. Amazing.
That's true.
It was dying after the strike, and then you had the battle with Sosa and McGwire. Ken Griffey Jr. was involved in that too, but he gets overlooked.
But did people really talk? I don't remember.
Because
he get talked about as a steroid guy.
Well, no, as a steroid guy, no. He was in that home run race though for that season. Right. So it was really my mom just says she still does watch. So thanks, Mom. Hi, Mom. But I really think that like McGwire, Sosa, and Griffey brought it back that year. It was so exciting. I remember when McGwire hit his to go ahead of Maris and stuff like that. They actually stopped live news. To go show that he brought. So it was great, and he would sell out those stadiums. So again. Hello, let's go back to something like that where it was, you know, every stadium, all the stadiums were packed because they all wanted to see this happen.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So that again, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. I am Adam Amble. That's Garrett Collier. We are live from Jackson, Michigan. We're going to go to our next segment here, and that is Call the Three. One of our favorite segments. Sure. I got some good ones for you tonight, G. So
I hope so.
I'll rock some questions first. Let's see what you got. All right, buddy. First of all,
fire away.
You know, we mentioned earlier about Iggy possibly going pro this year.
We did.
Excuse me. Now, over the years, we've thought, no way they're going pro. No way they're going pro. Not just for Michigan, for any team. Now, let me know your least favorite person that went pro. That you were like, oh my goodness, that is not a smart thing to do.
Deontay Davis from Michigan State.
And you know why? I don't even remember who that is, folks.
He was a one and done guy for them that absolutely needed to be a 2 or 3 or 4 and done guy. I don't think he's on an NBA roster anymore. I'd have to check to be sure, but I don't believe he's on an NBA roster anymore.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is.
He left state in like 2013 or 14.
And it was recent? That's embarrassing. Yeah. I apologize, folks.
Didn't even make an NBA roster at more than 2 or 3 years. He was with the Grizzlies for a minute, and now he's off. I think he's out of the league. Could be in the G League or overseas somewhere. But, yeah, just one of those situations where I was like, why are you going pro? You're not going to make any money. You're going to get your one small contract that'll last you 5 years because they'll blow all the money anyway. Like, it was silly. I'm a huge proponent of coming back. For sure. Yep. I mean, if you're Zion or RJ or Ja or whoever, go make your money. You're going to be
let's be
whatever.
Smart, right?
But if you're fringe lottery, if you're second round, if you're maybe going to go undrafted, what are you doing? going pro? If you're going to play in the developmental league for 2 years anyway, why are you going pro? So I've never understood it. What about you? Who you got?
I'm just curious if obviously agents get in their ear and
Of
stuff
course,
like
of
that.
course.
My least favorite person to go pro was Charles Woodson, actually. He left after his junior year. Now, that's not saying he wasn't ready. That's like
Gotcha.
saying, obviously, Duke players or Duke fans being like, Zion,
Right.
no way. I hate the fact that
Right.
you went pro. But my least favorite person that went pro that I wished would have stayed was obviously Seawood. He had
Yeah.
his senior year left after he won the Heisman.
Fair enough.
And to be honest with you, most people can
For sure.
bring up something like that.
Yeah,
So
deep dive a little here onto Deontay Davis. He averaged 7.5 and 5.5
that makes no
in
sense
2
to
blocks. He is currently on the Hawks roster, though. I was incorrect. He's on the Hawks roster. However, he has not played a minute.
me. What do you think about D. Wilson from a couple years ago for Michigan?
And he's doing fine, man. He's playing quite
he's
a
doing
bit
well
for the
in
Bucks. He's a rotation guy for them.
I honestly thought he was not ready to go.
I agree. When he left, I thought he wasn't, but looking back, we can't fault him at all. He's
Very true in hindsight.
he's
Absolutely
playing
right.
good minutes for the best team in the East right now. So
Yep. That was not expected. I definitely thought he was.
Yeah,
Oh my
for
goodness,
sure.
there's no way
For
he's
sure.
ready, and he proved me wrong.
yeah, he's done well this year for them.
So,
I think he's playing. I think he's like the 8th or 9th guy.
Okay, well, great for him. You know,
Right.
I'm happy for him. It's
Right,
not like
for
I
sure.
wish the worst for him.
No,
but,
for sure.
Yeah. So let's on to the next one. So G, obviously, if you didn't notice, everyone, he's still rocking the hair back there. Just loving the mop. He still needs to get it cut, but after our bet and whatnot.
That's facts.
Let's see. So that brings me on to the question, though, of which athlete in your lifetime had your favorite hair?
Ooh, man, that's hard. Holy cow. Immediately, Richard Hamilton and Ben Wallace from those Piston teams come to mind with the afro and the cornrows.
The froze. Oh, yeah, the
I liked
mixture.
Rip's cornrows with the headband and the mask. I think
The
that
mask,
combination of the three was dope. Ben Wallace's afro was huge. Maglio Ordonez for the Tigers, though, with the long hair.
Nice.
I had one of the hats that had the wig velcroed to the inside of it.
He had like the bushy
it would
mullet
give you the
going
long
on.
hair.
Yeah.
His was longer than mine.
Oh my
way
goodness.
longer than mine. Well,
That's a
maybe
good
not, I
one,
don't
buddy.
know. Yeah, Mags had great hair. Man,
I didn't even think of that.
I would have to
think
sit
of
and think
Mags.
about the. I hesitate to give out the best though, because those are the three that immediately come to mind. But I feel like I'm forgetting people. Like Birdman Anderson when
Yeah.
he did the huge
Well, he did. Yeah, the
mohawk.
yeah.
That was sweet.
There's been some good ones.
Yeah, who you
There's been
got?
some- I'll go back old school, and it was Auburn brought to mind Chris Porter. Chris Porter
Okay.
had the afro before
Before
it was
pretty much
cool.
anybody else,
Before it was
yeah.
cool. Well, obviously the afro was cool back
Right.
in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But yeah, Chris Porter actually, I loved it, and he could just throw down monster dunks.
Yeah,
and
I
then second
remember-
was Ben Wallace. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Colt Brennan, the old quarterback for Hawaii, did the
Oh, yeah.
Hawaiian Islands. He had dyed his hair blonde except for like these patches of brown that were
Oh,
the
that's cool.
islands.
It's tough with
That
football
was
players because
cool.
it's tough
The
with
helmets
football
on,
players. Yeah.
I feel like Brian Bosworth had cool haircuts at Oklahoma.
Boy, you do like the Garrett style right now, don't you?
Yeah.
I would say you didn't like Palomalu and stuff like that. Do you like the?
I mean, it was iconic. Everybody remembers
Right.
it, but I remember him getting tackled by it.
Yep. And
When he got interception
And then they
before.
count it as part of the jersey
Yep,
now, right?
yep.
So
It's allowed.
do it at your own
Man,
risk,
there's been
right?
a bunch. Steven Adams for the Thunder now with the man bun, with the part of it's down. His is kind of cool.
See, there we go. We're getting into.
Neymar has had some cool haircuts in
If
soccer.
we get into man buns, we're moving into.
Okay,
the
wait.
next,
One
the
takes the
next
cake
topic.
though. Drew Gooden played for the Cavaliers.
I remember
and he
Drew
shaved.
Gooden.
He wore a headband and he shaved his entire head except for a patch of hair about that big, right above the headband. And I never knew why, and I thought it was awesome. So he might be.
Fair
be
enough,
number one.
guys. Let us know who your favorite. if you're still watching, let us know your
Best
favorite hair.
sports hair.
Okay, so you'll love this question. Next question. So
right.
LeBron James is rocking Space Jam 2.
Yep.
The sequel to Space Jam 1 with Michael Jordan. What's your favorite sports movie of all time, G?
Oh my God.
And I know actually let me give me your top 3. Cuz it's so difficult, guys. I could almost put this into genre, like give me your best basketball, give me your best
Hardball.
football.
With
Hardball with Keanu
and
Reeves.
G-Baby.
And G-Baby,
oh my
yep.
God. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but have some Kleenex.
It's a tearjerker, yep.
Coach Carter, basketball, and probably remember the Titans, man.
Oh,
It's a classic.
don't be sorry about it. You're a little not confident about that. What's up with that?
I feel like it's a basic answer.
Well,
It's like
yeah,
what everybody
I
says.
like
Oh,
the
I
ones
love
you.
Remember
I like
the
the ones
Titans.
you talked about.
For sure.
Yeah, Hardball was really cool.
Yeah. What do you got?
For football, it's the program.
Okay.
The
Any Given
program was
Sunday is
really
good
cool.
too, though.
What's that?
Any Given Sunday is really good.
Oh,
That's
we
not
could
even
go
a
on
sports
and
movie,
on
though.
about. What about, remember Necessary Roughness?
Yeah.
That's Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Rudy. We got a
Yeah.
lot of good football
I've
ones.
never seen Rudy.
Sunday Night Lights, of course.
Yeah.
All
Friday Night
those
Lights.
ones. Or Sunday Night
Sunday Night
Lights.
Lights.
It's the NFL, right?
For sure.
So, yeah, that's
Man, there's some
my
good
favorite
ones.
of all time is probably the program. And
Okay.
for basketball, it was Hoosiers.
that's a
Definitely
good one.
loved Hoosiers.
That's a good
And remember Blue Chips?
Yeah.
Blue Chips was a great basketball
So
one.
many. What about greatest game ever played, the golf movie?
Oh, yeah, and you could
Great
go with
movie.
Mighty Ducks. We got
Right.
hockey.
Miracle on Ice, even. for
Yeah,
hockey?
Miracle was good.
Yep.
Yeah, we got so many.
So
Field
many.
of Dreams for baseball, of course, is a
Yeah.
classic. Oh my
The
goodness.
Rookie.
The Rookie. Yep, I was
Love
just
of the
thinking of that
Game.
too. We're going on and on.
could go
folks,
on
I'll tell
forever.
you. Yeah, not bad.
So
So
many.
that's all I got for you, G, on Call the Three. Let's shift it
Alright.
over to you.
Mine aren't as fun as yours. I feel lame now.
That's all right.
So we got DPJ and Duomofor have worse injuries than anticipated, according to Harbaugh.
Saw that.
So that today. I'm curious if you think that hurts Michigan's outlook this year. If those two guys are out leading into the first 3 games of this
Into the
season.
first 3 games, no.
What if
Simply
it's for
because
the
remember
year?
the rumor was on I saw on Facebook earlier today that they were out for the season, and then they
Potentially.
clarified it.
That-
They
yeah,
clarified
right.
it that they were not. It's not season-ending injuries
Right.
for them. They just don't know how severe they actually are. Absolutely, I feel DPJ for sure.
Even if Nico's back, because I've heard Nico's having a great spring. He's
Well,
healthy.
He had a good year
Knock
last
on
year.
wood.
He had a good year last year, so I'm not gonna knock on that. And with our supposed new offense of run and gun, I just think we need that deep threat.
Oh, yeah.
And DPJ
Absolutely.
just had the sure hands
For sure.
and
No, he was
stuff like
great.
that last
Michigan
year.
State.
So yes, I do feel that hurts, but not if he's out for the first 3 games. Luckily, we don't have Notre Dame. We got Notre Dame in the middle of the season and stuff this year
Right.
and stuff like that.
Right.
So that really helps.
That makes sense for sure. Now Zion, Ja Morant, and RJ Barrett are all officially done with college basketball. Well, assuming they all go pro. I don't feel like that's much of a stretch at this point. Ja officially declared today. The other 2 are supposed to in the next couple of days. If you are the GM who wins the lottery of the number 1 pick in the NBA draft next year, who are you taking overall?
Still Zion.
Zion?
I've stuck
Why?
with that. The only because for no other reason, you'll get fired if you don't
If
pick
he
him.
works out, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
It's
fair.
like 98%. Now, don't get me wrong. We mentioned this before, G. We don't think he is the
can't miss guy.
We don't think he is the best, right?
Right.
I mean, I think talent-wise, I think Barrett and Ja are
They're better basketball players.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like we said, Zion will easily be the number 1 pick. Do I think he's going to be a Rookie of the Year? I don't know.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, he did impress me, and
Absolutely.
he continues to get a
Absolutely.
lot better.
His-
What's your call on that? Do you
said
take him?
for weeks now that I would take Ja Morant number 1 because
I know you love him. I know you love Ja.
I just think that he's can't miss as far as he's a great athlete and hooper. He's got all the intangibles of a point guard. He looks like Russell Westbrook with a jump shot. I mean, he went 5 of 5 from 3, and then he threw down 2 dunks in the second
and he's
half.
not a head case like Westbrook.
I think he's can't miss.
Who went off for 20 last night?
Yeah, 20. I think there's bust possibility with Zion if his game doesn't translate the way we hope it will. Granted, I think he'll be great, but I know Ja is can't miss.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would take Ja.
Yep. Understood. Real quick, I forgot about this. Cooper says Dennis Rodman. Remember for the hair?
Yeah.
Good call. Even though he had about a million
I was
different
gonna say, which
styles.
one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for
definitely for crazy hair. We'll agree
sure.
with you on that one, Coop.
Definitely. My third one I've got for you.
JC says money is on
RJ?
Barrett
I see that.
for number 1 pick.
Hey,
Collier, I don't know about that one, buddy.
he'll be a baller though. He'll be top.
He'll be top 3.
It's tough. It'll be those 3 top 3
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
My third one, Steph Curry got contacts and says he has had blurred vision his entire career. Can we talk about the fact that this man is already the greatest shooter of all time and now he can see the hoop?
And single-handedly changed the game to a 3-point
So my question
shooting
is,
league.
how good can this dude be if he can see? He was already shooting dang near 40% for his career from 3, and now he can see the hoop clear.
Well, first of all, do you think it's for real?
It
I mean,
seems
this
pretty legit.
seems like, come on, dude. Unless he was seeing 2 and he was really good at aiming at the one in the.
I don't think it was that, but I think it was. He said he had blurred vision, like when you're drinking and everything is blurry, kind of like that. I don't know, But yeah,
I'm not making 11 to 15 if I'm a little buzzed up there, G. And I'll mind you, I have 20/20 vision right now. So if it's true, to be honest with you, if it's true, it'll probably be the same. The only reason I say that is if he's used to it his whole life.
Right.
That's a change point, right? And he's been great his whole life. You can't get much better than Steph in terms of 3-pointers. So if you're telling me that he changed something, maybe, who knows? What if he goes,
oh man,
has he warm in a game yet?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
I mean, we'll see. Only time will tell, right? We'll see the stats.
Right.
And
he also, in the same interview, was asked to name his all-time top 5 in the NBA.
Okay.
He said Magic, MJ, LeBron, Wilt, and Shaq. Do you have any beef with that, or do you agree?
So that's his
all-time starting
Mount Rushmore
lineup.
+1.
Exactly. Yeah. Mount Rushmore +1. Sure.
I have no beef with it because again, we go back to the.
It's so difficult.
Now, in order to, in order to put a team together, that's a little tough because you got Shaq and Wilt.
Well, that would be and Magic at point guard.
Yeah.
That would be a long team.
Yeah.
For sure.
Don't get me wrong.
And no good 3-point shooters.
Obviously,
so in theory, that starting 5 isn't going to score well. But he said those are. I think he meant more like these are my top 5 best players, not making a team.
Okay.
My top 5 best.
That would be something. That'd be maybe something for next week. G, our top 5 best team.
We'll bring it back.
How about we'll do college though instead of the NBA?
Ooh, only including their college career. Ooh,
yes,
I like
only
that.
college career. Yeah.
Ooh, I got some names.
Which will be a little, might be a little judgmental. We might be a little biased based on their pro careers, but we'll call each other out on that one.
Right. All right.
So if we say no, he kind of, he did too well. And don't get me wrong, there'll probably be some players that
some of them probably
did well both,
NBA,
right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's fantastic. Awesome.
Like
thanks on the call, the 3 folks. Again, if you're just joining us, A to G, thanks for tuning in. We understand it's a long episode, but we got about 8 minutes left or so here. Let's go out with some other quick news here, G.
For sure.
And that is the All-American team came out. We got Zion, Barrett, Morant, Grant Williams from Tennessee, and then Cassius Winston, rightfully so.
Yep.
You got to give credit where credit is due. I do not disagree with this at all. G, you got any disagreements with the All-Americans?
With the first team, or in general?
Yeah, first team.
I thought Rui should have got it over Grant Williams. Rui Hachimura from Gonzaga.
Yeah, he did. He rocked the second team. So.
I like Grant Williams. Yeah, that's my only qualm. I'd have flopped them. But other than that,
rocked that. And the second team from the Big Ten anyway, Ethan Happ, rightfully so. And your boy Carson Edwards gets second team.
You know what? After the tournament he just had.
Yep. Can't argue with it right now.
He shut me up quick.
Yep. And then Iggy really got honorable mention. He was the only guy worth noting for Michigan. Yeah. So that was that. Other big news, Calipari signs a lifetime contract.
Yeah, man.
Gee, you think they win another national championship
before
with
he's
Calipari?
done? Yeah.
You think so?
Absolutely.
You think it's just he's been pretty downhill ever since?
Downhill,
in
quote unquote. They just made an Elite Eight, man. I mean,
in the last 5 years.
I saw somebody said this too. They said, "Can we call Duke what they are, overrated?" No.
I saw that too.
It's so silly to say they've been down.
Yeah, hold up,
Yeah,
folks.
they just only haven't won a championship in 3 years. That must be down. Like I don't know. It's so difficult to say with those programs. Like, yes, did Duke have a disappointing year in the tournament in the ACC regular season compared to what they were supposed to have with those freshmen? Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Are they overrated? Are they underperforming? No, they've been to I don't know. I wrote it all out in a Facebook argument. But,
not a chance.
I
saw that exact
and I think
post.
it's the same with Kentucky. That sure they made the Elite Eight this year, and to them that might be disappointing. But to if we'd have made the Elite Eight, we'd have been like, that's great, cool, awesome. There's 8 teams left out of 300 some, and you're one of them almost every year. I have no qualms with Calipari. I think he's the best recruiter basketball has ever seen, and I think they'll win another.
I think he's a crook, but
that's not what you asked.
Very true. Very true. And so a lot of people, digressing from Calipari, I read this earlier. They're starting to. Someone asked, "Is Calipari the b-ball version?" A lot of hype, a lot of recruiting. Like you mentioned, probably the best recruiter of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah. Is he a version? Is he the basketball version of hardball in football.
No, he gets better results than Harbaugh does in football. Unfortunately,
So far, right?
Yeah,
he's got a national championship. He's got a couple,
He's
right?
got natties, and Harbaugh doesn't.
Yeah.
I would love to say that.
However, it does kind of ring bells of Calipari. Okay, Calipari comes from Memphis, kind of a smaller school. Brought that school up, similar
Went
to
to the
like
NBA,
Harbaugh.
came
Yep,
back to
exactly.
college, the whole
Harbaugh
thing,
at Stanford.
No,
then to the.
I see the comparison. I think Calipari's outperforming Harbaugh. Unfortunately,
Yep.
as much as I wish it was the other way around.
Yeah.
We haven't been to the. I mean, would you consider? Okay, this is an interesting question. I don't know. Would you consider an Elite Eight run in the tournament similar to making a Final Four in football, making the playoff?
I think so.
Yeah. So
I think you make the Elite Eight. It
that's
shows
a
this year.
Great season.
Yeah.
Right.
It showed this year how
So-
great of games those were, and
So I mean,
it's
Harbaugh hasn't made a
not.
playoff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Or a Big Ten championship, or we'll see this year. Come on, Blue.
Pops
Come on,
just
Harbaugh.
said that they made the Elite Eight with the transfer Reed Travis. Unless the one and done is eliminated, Kentucky will not win another championship.
All right.
I disagree. I'm going on the record saying I disagree.
All right.
Which
All right.
I think one and done will get removed in 3 years. But I think if it were to stay, they would still win another one because they won one with him. They won Anthony Davis this year was a one and done.
Yep.
They dang near won another one with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and all those guys. So
Yep. It'll happen again.
it's just
It'll happen
only
again.
one team can win a title every year too. I think people forget that. They're like, well, when did Michigan last win national championship? Only one team a year gets it. You know what I mean? So when
Exactly.
people always say they've only got one title in the last 20 years, well, they're 1 out of 20.
Exactly.
Like it's great. You know what I mean? If you can win one title every 20 years in any sport, that's fantastic. And I think people forget that when they say like when they talk about Duke being down, they're like, well, they've only won 2 since 2010.
It's almost
That's
like
2 out of 9, bro.
Think about the NFL.
Right.
It's even worse because you got the
Right.
Patriots, one team that have
Exactly.
won, that have at least
Exactly.
been in it.
So if the first Patriots Super Bowl you have snuck out one of those other ones, or the Steelers you've snuck out 2, or the Giants have snuck out 2, it's
Incredible,
great.
incredible,
Right.
incredible. So yeah, just a couple more. Actually, we'll skip a lot of these because we're almost out of time. I really want to get in since our boy Jeff Izzo says that he needs another national championship to validate his career.
He said that?
Yes,
Huh.
he thinks he does.
I mean, I think Michigan State always gets disrespected. I think the Big Ten as a whole, basketball-wise, gets disrespected on the national scene, right? But I think in the state of Michigan, Izzo, whether you're a fan of him, whether you hate him, wherever you sit on him, he goes out as a legend.
Yep.
He could have retired 5 years ago and gone out a
Still,
legend. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I think he'll coach till he's ready to be done coaching. Granted, another title ain't gonna hurt.
No,
but I think he goes out.
I'm
a
sorry.
legend
Yeah, he
regardless.
wins. If he wins this year, it's not going to change my opinion.
He's
of
fantastic
how,
regardless,
Of how
yeah.
great of coach. I
Maybe
wish.
nationally though, I can see his point that nationally he does
brings
get
it brings
disrespected
it
quite a
up.
bit.
Brings it up. Yeah, people out in California and stuff. And did you see the map of
Well, and the
the
ACC
majority
guys.
of
Yeah,
the
rooting
United
for the-
States?
rooting for the
I don't know
Spartans.
what the source is on that, but
I think that's probably because they beat Duke, though, don't you think? They just
probably.
come off beating
So now
the,
they're
the quote unquote best team in the country.
Yeah.
You just beat them. Everybody's watched that,
and
game,
everyone's
it's gonna pick
hyped,
you.
and it was
Right.
it was a great game, like you
Deservingly
said.
so. Yeah, as we
it
said,
was a great
we both
game.
picked them to win it now. So.
And so that's it for the quick news. We're gonna wrap it up here. G, what do you got going on this weekend, buddy?
For sure. I don't have much. I'm promoting an event at the Loft tomorrow. Johnny Cash tribute band should be a good time.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
I'm gonna try
That's
to play.
cool.
Looks like the weather's gonna be nice, so I'm gonna try to play some golf this weekend. No gigs, chilling, hanging out, watching sports. Final Four Saturday. No shows.
Right on,
Just
man.
hanging out.
Well, if you're out and about, obviously you probably you won't be able to see G, but head on down to the Loft. He's been promoting
For
a lot
sure.
of these things and
For
stuff
sure.
like that. I myself will be traveling to Denver tomorrow. I'll be gone for the weekend, heading out to the Rocky State. We're going to the Rockies opening game,
Nice.
home opener.
Nice.
So
I've heard that stadium's
it'll be a
great.
good time.
I've
Yeah,
told
I've been there once, but never for opening day, obviously.
Got you,
So it'll
got
be
you.
really, really hyped about that.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll see you guys next week. Thanks a lot, everyone, for watching tonight. It'll be posted on my profile page later. Tell your friends, tell your family. Make sure they head on over there. It will also be on the M Factor channel over there on YouTube. Be sure to head over there and subscribe. A lot of good reviews and stuff like that we're getting, so we really appreciate it.
For sure.
Folks, have a great weekend, and we will see you next Wednesday on A to G.